Welcome to Staying Sweet, the podcast. Tune into my weekly podcast to hear me, Alice Bradley, delve deeper into building your brand and enjoying a luxury lifestyle. All while staying sweet, of course. Whether you're looking to level up in business, start something of your own, or balance a more exciting, fulfilling, and healthier lifestyle, each episode will be created especially to inspire and encourage your own success so you can really have it all. Plus, don't miss out on the Staying Sweet specials, a series of exclusive interviews and conversations with Alice Bradley's network of inspiring entrepreneurs and brand owners. Always protect your sweetness, your light is not a weakness. Don't forget, there are new episodes every Monday. For daily content, you can check out my Instagram and you can follow me at alicelucybradley. Stay sweet! Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Staying Sweet, the podcast. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day. Whenever you are listening to this, I hope it brightens up your day in some shape or form, and I also hope it educates you in some way as well. I am feeling so zen after my trip to Portugal. I actually got back yesterday, and I am in fact recording this episode the day of this episode going live. So normally I would get my podcast out by 8 a.m, but as you guys will be listening to this, you'll be clocking on to something that is going on in the wider universe, and that is Mercury Retrograde. Now, Mercury Retrograde is one of those kind of like meme-worthy topics now. I feel like people just either laugh it off, they don't believe it, which is fine, like each to their own. But I do think there is a lot of substance in what goes on with Mercury Retrograde and how it actually impacts your life. So bringing this back to business, and obviously this is a business podcast, and a wellness angle really to it is Mercury Retrograde. And I really think we have to talk about other things around being an entrepreneur or being somebody that is business minded or business focused. There is not just going to be one or two areas of your life that is going to be affected. You know, in everything that you do, if you want to be successful in your career, you have to think about other areas of your life, and you're going to be impacted in some way. So we have got to talk about these things, of course. So first things first, as you guys know, I love to start with my updates. I feel like I need to give you like a news and brief really, because I have so much to catch you up on. I feel like the last week has been super mental and just all over the shop, but I have been away in Portugal for a press trip. It was fantastic. I headed to Quinta do Lago, which is in the south. It's on the south coast, on the Algarve. Absolutely breathtaking, and it was so nice actually to be back. I have previously gone there on a press trip, but it was the beginning of the year and it was 2019, so very different time, and I feel like lots has changed over there. There's been lots of developments, and yeah, it was just nice to have glorious weather from start to finish, and just an amazing group of journalists as well. Like, I feel like our group was so good. I mean, it is every single time, and there's always going to be a new dynamic that you're going to work with, but I really enjoyed my time. So yeah, it was such a lovely trip. Like, don't get me wrong, I think when you go on these trips, it can come across as a really like relaxing experience, which it is. Like, of course, I'm away, I'm abroad in the sunshine, but it is work. The itinerary was jam-packed, and I feel like you can see that in the amount of things that we did. Like, I'm literally still posting stories from the few days, and I think I will be for the next few days, because there was just so much happening and so much going on. And yeah, I feel like when you're in the moment, it's really hard to also be on socials at the same time. Like, I literally said over on my Instagram that I was going to kind of check in once I'm back and actually kind of break down what I did, because I'm really learning to just live in the moment but also get the work done. So capturing what needs to be captured and then just living in that moment. But yes, you guys are going to be listening to this podcast in real time just because of how the whole trip worked out. I was planning on actually recording a podcast whilst I was away, but then I decided against it because I just thought, do you know what, I want to be in the right frame of mind. And I feel like when you get back from a trip, you just want to be super organized. So yeah, today is like Monday right now. So you are literally listening to this real time. And I just feel so focused and aligned with what I want to say. And just allowing yourself that grace period to get back into the right frame of mind to do things and complete tasks. And I feel like in a nutshell, really, that's what Mercury Retrograde is all about. It's all about just taking things slower and being more analytical before jumping the gun and actually making decisions. So yeah, I'm really excited to start with today's podcast. I think it's really important that you do give yourself that grace period and that expectation during Mercury Retrograde. Just allow yourself to be in a new state of flow. It's a lot slower pace. There's going to be things that you will get done and there are things that you won't get done as well. So that's really what inspired today's podcast title, How to Be Productively Unproductive. And I know that's like a serious double negative and it kind of feels like it doesn't make sense, but it does. I promise you, when you actually just sit and be productive in nothingness, you will get so much more done. And this is not me saying sit back and relax, get nothing done, don't tackle your emails, ignore people, binge watch a new series on Netflix. That's not what I'm saying. It's just about really tapping into what is already existing in your life that is needing to be tied up, any loose ends, anything that just feels really out of alignment or something that's been, at the back of your mind but niggling away. Like, that is the story of my life right now. So yeah, I feel like I really want to touch on this. And there are other things that you can be working on to still be productive and still be in a state of flow. So let's start firstly with the affirmational quote of the week. I feel like I've got a really long one today, but yeah, I feel like it's needed. I really do. So once you stop fearing the retrograde and understand how it can actually help you, you will be able to understand its true meaning and be able to flow and work with the universe. So that's my quote of the week. And then my affirmation, I want you to allow yourself to really tap into this. So just take a minute for this one. I give myself permission to go inward and feel the direction of my own intuition. I use this time to cultivate what is already within me and bring myself back to a state of complete faith and trust that I am supported by the universe. Now, I just want you to sit in that affirmation, maybe click the little back button on your podcast device or Spotify. Like, just take a minute to really either write that down or just really listen to it and allow yourself to receive that abundance. I think we get into that kind of headspace where we don't give ourselves that permission and we think we need to be working constantly and stepping on to the next thing. And like with all my podcast episodes, I want you to really just allow yourself to have that time and not feel guilty, which again is easier said than done. So what is Mercury retrograde? Well, my loves, Mercury retrograde is the planet of communication. I can already feel it now. Like, I've had to start my podcast twice. I am feeling strangely and randomly bunged up, or like I've got congestion, which I was feeling fine about an hour ago. So you know what it is, communication. I know what I want to say, but it's getting my words out properly. I feel like I'm probably going to slip up on words or say the wrong phrase or whatever, but we're going to go with it. We're just going to allow it to happen, allow ourselves to be in that particular frequency for this time being. Mercury retrograde affects the communication that we experience. So when it goes retrograde, all those things in life involving detailed conversations or planning, writing, articulating ourselves, over email or on a phone call, getting ourselves new technology or something breaking or breaking down, and travel. So this idea that travel is disrupted in some way. It's not always delays. It could be that you are having to take a new path to work or a new route or whatever. You're being redirected in some capacity, and just allowing yourself to enjoy it and embrace it. I know it's hard sometimes, but yeah, you're most likely going to be feeling some lower vibrational emotions, so feeling restricted or confused, frustrated. Some people do experience more anger because they are frustrated, and I feel like those emotions are quite heavily interlinked. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot to be said about the emotions you feel during Mercury retrograde, and it's why I kind of give people that grace that if something happens and it then affects me, I just say, do you know what? We're in a Mercury retrograde. this might be impacting them in a certain way. So it's not giving people like a get out of jail free card. It's just allowing that little freedom of movement and just, you know what, this is how it's going to be. I'm just going to allow it and I'm just going to accept it. So this retrograde started on the 10th of May and it goes on until the 2nd of June. So that is when you're going to be kind of expected to feel the most impact of the retrograde, but there's always a shadow period. So right before the planet moves retrograde, you start to feel things, you kind of feel like you're treading water, but nothing's really happening. Things are starting to go wrong, or things are starting to change plans or reroute. And you will feel that after the retrograde ends as well. So it's usually typically like a 2-week grace period. I love this word grace period, or phrase grace period. I feel like I'm saying it loads at the moment. It's just like my phrase of the moment. But I quite like it. I don't know why I'm saying it so much, but that is when the retrograde is taking place, and it is starting in the position of Gemini. So Gemini on your chart is, wherever it is, it's going to be sitting in a particular house. And then the planet is going to move back into Taurus. So Taurus sits just behind Gemini in the charts. In order to find out what particular houses are affected, you need to look at your birth chart. You need to calculate your birth chart. You can do it online. I'm going to link in the show notes an easy website to use. Input all your data and a birth chart will appear. I also recommend as well, it's kind of got better actually, CoStar. Again, I will link it below. CoStar kind of gives you a more simplified version of your birth chart, but what you're going to want to find out is where your Gemini and your Taurus sit. So those houses will then affect the themes of your life. So the houses are split into 12 themes and 12 areas of your life. So if it's going to be in retrograde, what you're going to want to do is look for Gemini and look for Taurus. Where are they? It will very clearly state what house it sits in. Say, for instance, Gemini is sitting in your first house. This means that you are going to be feeling particularly frustrated with your appearance or feel stagnant with yourself in some way. So you may feel like you want to change how you look or how you appear based on your first impressions. So this could be impacting you in work and you not even know it, like how you are perceived at work, how you feel confident enough to express yourself or voice your opinion. And yeah, I think that's why I always want to bring it back to your career, because I think astrology and knowing where everyone is astrologically can really help how effective you are in business. I really wish it was a more widely accepted measure of, what you're good at, your skills. I think there is some method in it and some method to the madness. So yeah, I feel like if you are influenced astrologically or you want to kind of just work out how it's impacting you, then I'd recommend you look at your birth chart and just allow yourself to do a little bit of, spiritual work. I mean, it's not really spiritual in a sense. It's more, I don't know, it's almost like inner work, just really working on who you are as a person. And I think Mercury Retrograde is that to its core. So yeah, just really allowing yourself the opportunity to just look into what makes you you. So why do we fight it? Why do we allow this resistance to happen when we know Mercury retrograde's, in full motion? I don't know what it is, but we feel this energy so heavily that it feels so restrictive that we have to fight it. And it's like a reflex almost, and actually allowing yourself the ability to just stop in your tracks and stop yourself from trying to fight it is the best way to combat the more negative emotions, the more negative feelings. So Mercury retrograde interferes with so many different things that when it comes to things like business, those areas are really highlighted, and they're highlighted even more so. So we have things like delays, communication, issues, disagreements, misunderstandings, not to mention the problems with technology and the problems with transport and getting from A to B and things like that. So on the first day of Mercury retrograde, I feel like so many things already happened to me. Like I had an issue with my car, I had money that had to obviously be spent on that, and obviously when you're first kind of like in that state, you're like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. This is so annoying. And I was like, great, this is how my Mercury retrograde is going to go. But actually just going, no, calm down, Alice. This had to happen and it's going to be sorted out. So we're going to work out how to fix this. My car is amazing. It's working great now. And, you know, it gets me from A to B. I need to actually be grateful, and I need to sit there and believe that, you know, without my car, I wouldn't be able to go to a lot of the opportunities that I have for work. So just being more grateful. And I know it's one of those things that makes you feel like, oh, why do I have to feel grateful about these situations when it feels like something bad is happening to me? But it's all about perspective, and actually it really does shift you mentally and allow yourself to be, in a better place for receiving change and receiving this kind of new area of opportunity. And I actually find Mercury retrograde now is an opportunity for me to just finalize things and get things done, even though I'm at a slower state and in a slower flow. So yeah, I feel like you learn so much about yourself during Mercury retrograde, in particular how reactive you are to things when things go wrong. So with my car breaking down, or like having an issue with my car, I could have really got into such a negative headspace. I could have gone, right, oh my gosh, that's money spent on this that I didn't want to have to spend on it. I think you learn so much about yourself during Mercury retrograde, in particular how reactive you are when things go wrong. So in the instance of my car, having issues, I could have sat there and just been like, this is ridiculous. My Mercury retrograde is going to be horrendous. I'm going to have all this money being spent on different things. Things are going to go wrong. Things are going to break down. I also traveled during Mercury retrograde, guys, and actually it was a breeze. Like, there were a few little things that were a bit like, oh, well, that's a bit annoying. But actually, in the grand scheme of things, the airport experience was amazing and super easy. Like, I actually didn't have any issues, and I just allowed myself to be in that state of acceptance and just allowing it to happen. Everything does happen for a reason, and there is a method to the astrological process and actually sitting in the moment more. So yeah, I feel like with the resistance side of things and this urge to fight what is happening to us, I think it just comes from living in an age where we are expected to be so fast paced, and slowing down really isn't allowed. And it's so ironic because we had lockdown and we had that work-life balance kind of recalibrate, and I feel like immediately things have gone out of the window again, and we're all getting ourselves back onto that treadmill, and we're just in that state of, no, we have to keep going, we have to work, we can't slow down. And I feel like all that shadow work we kind of did back in lockdown has just been thrown out of the window. And I know not everyone is in that boat, and a lot of people have stepped away from corporate positions and the rat race, but we are still expecting ourselves to achieve so much in so little time, and still have a social life, and still have a family balance, and still, have abundance and happiness in our personal lives. So yeah, I feel like there's a real tension between all those things, and Mercury retrograde now feels like us fighting that battle. And the key word here really is fight. We don't want to fight it. We don't want to feel like we are putting so much energy into something and getting nothing back, because it's going to make us feel so low vibe. And that is why I'm here to give you some pointers and, how it can be impacting your business. It might be that you're an entrepreneur and you're working for yourself, and you're just thinking that, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do, I've got so many loose ends to tie up, and I feel like I don't know where I'm going. And just sitting in that expectation and taking that expectation away from yourself is going to be so much more beneficial. So how does it impact me in business? Good question. I think you have to ask yourself that, and you have to ask yourself that in your personal life as well, because you're going to get two different answers. But you might be feeling the urge to get things done, complete tasks, get yourself into that readiness for when things go back to normal. You might be writing extensive to-do lists, or just sorting out your emails and your admin. Like, rather than replying to emails, you're actually looking at, okay, how is my inbox structured? Do I have a format for tasks that are completed, tasks I need to action? Feeling like I've actually got a clear space to work with. Really give yourself that opportunity to sit and work on things that you already have going on in your life. Don't take on more tasks than you can manage. I think that's true with things that are going on in my life. I've just got back from a press trip. I've got about 3 articles to write for that. I've got a podcast to edit today. I've got to sort out my, video clips from the vlog that I would have captured. I've got a backlog of vlogs and a backlog of articles. So rather than going, right, that's me, off to the next opportunity, I need to actually work on what I've already got going on and allow myself to complete those tasks, because it's a really great opportunity for you guys to get things done that you've been procrastinating. And guys, procrastination is one of my most done things. I don't mean to do it just happens, and I'm just giving myself that kick up the bum to get things done that I have been procrastinating. You're going to use this time as an opportunity for a digital cull. Delete old files, clear out your storage on your iPhone. Like, how awful is it when you go to take photos and it says iCloud full? Like, honey, sort it out. Get yourself organized. Delete things that no longer need to be there, like stupid screenshots of a train journey that you need to go on for work. Like, I know the drill. I know what it's like. Get rid of those things. Go through contracts. If you've got contracts that you need to sign off or action, instead of just accepting what's written on the page and signing your name on the dotted line, go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I promise you, you will not regret it. You will learn something from the whole experience. Just really go through things methodically. If you have a deadline and you have to get things done, just read it over and over and over again until you really know what's going on and you know that you're in the driving seat. At the end of the day, patience with these types of admin tasks will pay off. You will feel more in tune and in balance with what you're doing, but just don't do things in haste. Don't say yes to things that you can't do. If you're overworked or if you feel like you've got lots of things to action, don't take on another burden or another task. Just say, I really can't do this right now. I've got to focus on X, Y, and Z. So rather than feeling discouraged or confused about your future, use this time to rest and reflect on what you actually want for yourself. Do the journaling, do the shadow work, take the time to really think about what it is you want in life and what you want from the next few months or before our next retrograde. Tie those loose ends as well with people and relationships. Seal the deal. If you've got a opportunity lined up and you haven't set a date with someone, just go through your diary, sit and just be so well structured and really secure things in. Obviously you can put dates in the diary, but just accept that some things might change. Someone might be suddenly ill or not feeling up to, someone might be feeling ill or might be suddenly not able to action the plan that was once put in motion. It's okay, everything is going to work out in due time, but sometimes plans change and you have to be, accepting of that as well. And finally, what I want to leave you with is, rather than hastily confronting someone or snapping, if you're feeling really stressed and overworked in your office space or at work or with someone that you're emailing, rather than bringing out a state of anger or frustration at them, just take extra time to be careful with what you say. Everyone is going through this tension in a different house, in their chart, and they're experiencing different tensions in different, areas of their life that is feeling slow paced. So you're not alone. We're all in this together. And I feel like this podcast episode feels a bit rushed for me and feels a little bit, I feel like I can't get my words out. I find when Mercury Retrograde is occurring, my throat chakra is super blocked. So I do apologize if this is a really fast-paced, hasty, confusing podcast, but I hope it just sheds some light on Mercury Retrograde, and you might be feeling exactly the same way. You might be doing like a presentation this week and be feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm stuttering all my words. I can't get my sentences out straight. I find it so much with my throat chakra. So I'm allowing myself to just accept that this podcast is what it is. I'm going to get it out on time and you guys can enjoy it today. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, guys. Of course, I will be back soon with a new podcast. I've got lots of ideas and people coming up on the show, so I can't wait to get them on. And hopefully by that point, I will have a clearer throat chakra and just be able to kind of chat to you guys more freely. But have a lovely rest of your week, guys, and make sure to allow yourself that time, that breathing room to accept Mercury retrograde for what it is. Thank you so much for tuning in to Staying Sweet, the podcast. If you enjoyed listening, please do leave a review, and I will catch you next week for a new episode. Stay sweet.